Hey, in today's video, I'm going to talk to you all about the Cochise County Owner-Builders Opt-out Permit.
Hey there, I'm Doug, and this is Keri, and we are two motley crew, also known as the two rebels off grid, and we sold everything and came out to Cochise County, and we are starting our lives in uncertainty. Watch our progress.
Hey, everybody. Yeah, Doug and I purchased property here in southeast Arizona in the high desert of Cochise County just about a year ago almost. And we just sold everything and moved over here, and we're living in our RV right now in an RV park. And we're working on getting our property set up so we can move out there and start homesteading. So, a lot of you might be interested in what that means exactly and how you go about doing that. So, there's something that I'm going to share with you at the very end of the video that is critical that you get right. And if you even want to use this type of permit to do construction, this is the one thing that you absolutely have to get right. So stay tuned to the end for that. It's really important. So you're probably wondering what even is the Cochise County, Arizona Owner Builder Opt-out Permit. Some of you may be very familiar with it. Some of you may have no idea what that means, but you're interested in getting more information. So you're in the right place. Let me tell you what the Owner Builder Opt-out Permit is. I'm going to read it right off their website so that I don't mince any of the words, but I'm also going to explain to you what it's not. So the Owner Builder Amendment is a program for rural home construction in Cochise County. While program participants must comply with all Cochise County Building Safety Code and zoning requirements, the overall permitting costs associated with construction are lower than traditional residential home construction. This is due to either fewer or no building plan review and inspections being conducted, depending on the options selected by the participant. So it's really important that you understand that what this permit does not do is get you out of following the Cochise County building and safety and zoning codes. You still have to follow fire codes. You still have to follow all of that. But there is a way that you can apply for this that you may be not having to have as many inspections or possibly no inspections, depending on the situation. So the ability to use this permit is a huge part of why Doug and I ended up in Cochise County, Arizona. You'll find if you're researching this that this particular way of doing construction that we're going to do, which is hyper adobe earth bag home, and other non-traditional forms of construction like straw bale homes and earthship homes and shed to home conversions, a lot of times they don't allow that at all. So that if you're looking into living that way and you're looking into building a home that way, you'll want to look at your county and you'll want to look at the property that you've purchased or live on, or that you want to purchase or live on, and see if that's allowed, because it's not allowed in very many places, and it's pretty getting harder to find that. So that's what the Owner Builder Opt-out Permit is here in Cochise County. And I want to just kind of take you through our process that we just recently went through and just give you some pointers and some additional information on the permit. So I know one of the big questions that Doug and I had was, are we going to need other permits in order to do this permit? Or does this permit like cover everything? Or how do we know what we're going to need? So there's 3 permits that are ones that you're going to want to consider. And then there's a 4th that actually we're not considering it. We're actually using it or trying to. So there's 3 permits though that are for sure that you're going to want to look at. The first one is going to be your septic system. You cannot get out of at least a small, even alternative septic system here in Cochise County. The state of Arizona considers your kitchen sink water to be black water. So even if you were planning on doing composting toilets for your bathroom or bathrooms, that kitchen sink water still needs to be, put into a septic system. So one of the first things that you want to do is have your property evaluated and the site plan constructed by a licensed, somebody that's licensed to do that. So it's usually a septic company usually will do that. So we just had that done, and we let them know we want to do a non-traditional septic system for our kitchen black water. So we're doing a 2-barrel system. There's lots of different systems that you can use depending on what your site is comprised of and different factors, but that septic planner can help you figure that out. Just so you know the cost, we ended up paying about $850 to have ours done, and that's a pretty standard cost. So you'll want to start with that. You cannot get out of that. There's no way to get out of that, unfortunately. But the other thing that you'll want to keep in mind is that they do allow composting toilets here in Cochise County. They also do allow and encourage gray water recycling. So what we're planning on doing is routing our shower water, our bathroom sink water, laundry water. We're planning on using that to irrigate our yard. Anyhow, the gray water recycling program here in Arizona it's really not difficult to do. So you just need to follow some basic guidelines, and you can definitely do that too. So anyhow, when you're going to submit your owner builder opt-out permit, you'll want to have that septic evaluation. Your evaluator will fill out like a packet for you and give that to you, and then you can use that to submit to the county. So that's the first thing. We just did this on Tuesday, and it's already approved on Friday. So that's how quickly the county turned that around, which was pretty amazing, actually. So the second permit that you're going to want to look into whether or not you need is called a right-of-way permit. If your property borders a county road and you're planning on cutting a driveway in from that county road, you're going to need to apply for a right-of-way permit. And the third permit that you may need to have is called, I don't know, it's called can never remember the name of it. It's basically a floodplain use permit, I think is how they named it. So if you are in a floodplain, you're going to have to apply for this permit because they only allow certain things within a floodplain, and you may need certain inspections possibly. So you'll want to look into that. That's the third one. Now there's another one that you may or may not need, and we're going to end up needing it because, like I mentioned earlier, we're living in our RV in an RV park. We're getting our property prepped to move the RV out there. They do have, you do have the ability to live in an RV on your property while you're constructing your home, but you do have to apply for a permit for that, and it's called an RV temporary use, I think is what they call that. So we also applied for that. So we did the owner builder opt-out permit, the RV temporary use, and then we got our septic system permit approved. So those are 3 that you'll want to look at, and those are pretty important. So when you're ready to either do additional research or start the permit process, you'll want to go to the Cochise County website, which is just cochise.az.gov. So on the home page there's a button, and you just click that. It says permits, and that'll take you to that page. You're going to want to scroll down just a tiny bit to the planning, applications, and building permits, and go ahead and click on apply for a permit. So this is going to take you to a login page. If you don't already have an account created with Cochise County, you'll want to go ahead and do that. Everything that you do for your permit, documents that you submit, checking the status of the permit, that's all going to be done through this login. It's super easy and quick to create, so you'll want to do that. And then that will take you to the permitting page. And so you're going to start the process for this particular permit by clicking the drop down. And the one that we're going to be using is going to be the residential permit. And then that's going to open up another box with another drop down. And you're going to want to click the single family residence. And from there, they start asking questions like the work description. They want to know if it's a new or existing project. They're going to ask for the address. You may or may not have an address. We did not have an address. We had a parcel number, and that's fine also. You have to have one or the other in order to do this permit. So what we did was we went ahead and we put our parcel number in there, and then it linked our county tax ownership information with that lot number, and it kind of pulled it together. So it verified that yes, Douglas and I do own this lot, and it gives you a little check mark, and then you can move forward on the application. The next section, as you go through this application, that's really, really important that I want to kind of mention is the proposed project. And that is where you're going to describe the type of work that you're going to be doing. You have the option, I think there's like 5 options, but the 2 that you're going to be doing if you're applying for this owner builder opt-out are either rural residential owner builder no inspection or rural residential owner builder limited inspection. So depending on how your property is zoned, you'll be choosing one of those. We're choosing the no inspection option, and we're doing that because we feel very comfortable with the building process and following the building safety codes, and we don't feel that we need to have inspections. So that's how we're choosing to move forward with this. So that's a really important piece, though, because if you don't make the right selection, you could end up having a whole lot of inspections, and it can get very time consuming. All right, so when you get to the very end of the application, there's 3 documents that you have to submit in order to submit this application and for them to start processing it. If you're missing any of these documents, they're going to kick it back to you, and you're going to have to turn them in before they'll process it. So those 3 things are a site plan, a proof of valid contractor form, and the rural residential owner builder amendment. So the site plan, if you click on to site plan, it's a blue hyperlink you can see right here. It will show you an example of what a site plan is. That doesn't have to be anything crazy, and it doesn't have to be done by a professional. You can write it up yourself. They want it on an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, and they've got guidelines on what your site plan should look like. You do not have to have your floor plan done in order to submit this site plan. The site plan is just showing them where you're planning on building your home, and then you'll also need to give them a rough amount of square feet that you're going to want your that you're wanting your residence to be. So that's really important. So we're putting in a little bit higher number than what we think we're actually going to be doing, just to cover our bases. It's really important. So we're putting in 2,800 square feet for our home, and then we're going to continue to work on the floor plan later. So just know that the floor plan is not required at this time. The next piece that you need, which is the proof of valid contractor form. So you have 2 options there. You can either actually use a valid contractor that has a license, or you can choose that you were doing the building of the home yourself. Either you just fill out one section or the other. If you're doing the building yourself, you just fill out your information and sign it, turn that in with it. And then the last one is the Rural Residential Owner Builder Amendment. And that's just giving you the guidelines of what exactly the Owner Builder Amendment is. And then you'll need to sign that you acknowledge that, and that you also understand that you cannot use this Owner Builder Amendment again in the county within a 5-year period. So you're limited to using this every 5 years. So just be aware of that also. And then you just sign it and date it and attach these 3 pieces to the application and then submit it. It's all electronic, so it's kind of awesome and pretty easy. So we submitted all 3 of these things on Tuesday last week, and we actually already have the, I'm sorry, not all 3 of these things. We submitted 3 permits last week on Tuesday. We submitted the septic permit, we submitted the owner builder opt-out permit, and we submitted the temporary RV permit on Tuesday. And by Friday, we had the septic permit has already been approved. We're still waiting on the other 2, but that's how quickly they turned it around, which was pretty awesome. And we didn't have to go down to the county or anything. Did it all from our computer. So anyhow, the one thing that I shared with you way earlier in the video that I said you absolutely have to have it right is going to be zoning. So everything hinges on what your property is zoned as. So you have to fall under a certain zoning type in order to use the owner builder opt-out amendment. I have put a list of what those zoning types are in the show notes in the description. You can click on that and look at that and understand that that is as of early August 2022. And if you're watching this video far in the future, you'll want to double check on the county website and make sure that's still correct. but you have to be zoned a certain way. So when we were looking for our property, we were specifically looking for RU4 property. What that means is that means rural property that is 4 acres or bigger. So you cannot do the owner builder amendment unless you have at least 4-acre parcel. So there is a lot of different zonings that allow this, and make sure that yours is zoned that way, or that you're purchasing property that is. Now, if you already bought your property and you're like, oh crap, my property is not zoned the right way, don't panic, because I know there is a process to get your property rezoned. I do think, though, that you do have to have a minimum of 4 acres, but contact the county to find out what that process is and see what the cost is and how time consuming it is. I know it can be done because I've seen people do it. So don't panic if you already purchased and you're not zoned the right way. So, but that is key if you haven't purchased yet. Let your realtor know that. Most realtors are going to be very familiar with what this owner builder amendment is. So hopefully this video was helpful. I hope I didn't confuse you guys. But if you have questions about the permit, and it's a Cochise County question, feel free to put that in the comments. We try to respond to every single comment and try to help you guys out. Because I know when Doug and I started researching this, there wasn't a lot of information where it kind of like walked you through it. And we were really wanting to do a video like that. So hopefully it's helpful for you. But feel free to ask questions, and we'll see you next time.